This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, Cyprus launches its first ever electric vessel for our coastal surveys.
The vessel is equipped with photovoltaics, so it can be charged by itself. If the battery is empty for the specific application, the vessel will be charged within 10 days, free of charge by the sun. But of course, because we might need missions to happen on a daily basis, the vessel can be charged by the grid of Larnaca Marina overnight.
You're invited to take part in research into the healing effects of polyphenols in olive oil.
Olive oil and olives, they do offer you polyphenols, but this is a very powerful supplement that can increase the absorption of polyphenols in our body and provide health benefits.
And an upcoming festival celebrates everything about our Pediaeos River.
It's not just a festival to get to know the river better, but it's also a festival to get to know the various aspects that people have in mind about what else they would like to see happening.
Our Deputy Shipping Minister earlier this week named a new vessel for the Cyprus Marine and Maritime Institute. Evploia Aphrodite is a battery-driven, fully electric vessel, and it's a first, I think, for Cyprus. So we're joined from the CMMI by Angelos Ktoris. Angelos, a big event, I think, because it's part of what we have to do to go green. But why haven't we got more electric vessels? Are they unusual?
Yeah, I think that the problem with implementing new technologies and that might revolutionize the industry in any discipline, not only shipping, you will need the proper infrastructure to facilitate this transition. So if our marinas, our ports are not equipped with the proper infrastructures, we will not be able to make the transition on time to meet the targets of either the EU or the IMO for shipping.
So where is this vessel going to charge itself?
The vessel is equipped with photovoltaics, so it can be charged by itself. So if the battery is empty for the specific application, the vessel will be charged within 10 days, free of charge by the sun. But of course, because we might need missions to happen on a daily basis, the vessel can be charged by the grid of Larnaca Marina overnight.
So there is a backup. It's not just the sun, because in the winter that could be a problem, couldn't it? I know it gets some recharging, but probably not enough. What sort of work is this ship going to be doing?
The vessel will act as a research platform for the organization. It will act as a platform for testing new technologies, not only electric-driven motors, but other technologies that might be applicable to larger vessels, not only coastal ships, to facilitate the decarbonization not only of the coastal fleet, but also ocean-going vessels. On the vessel, we will be testing algorithms for autonomous navigation, and of course, measuring other environmental parameters to assess the impacts of the climate change, not only in our region, but how it affected the whole Mediterranean Sea.
That, I think, is the main driver, isn't it, for the Cyprus Marine and Maritime Institute, that you study our seas. So I can see that it's quite useful to see if we can roll out more electric vessels. But in terms of looking at the biodiversity and the dangers posed in our coastal waters by climate change, what sort of work will it be doing on that?
First of all, since the vessel has installed electric motors on it, it means that the acoustic sound that has and the impact it has on the marine environment is nearly zero. So this as such can be one area of exploiting how noise affects either mammals or other species that live in our seas. So this is the one thing that can furtherly investigated. Another thing is on a certain periods within the year to perform expeditions so that you can collect vital parameters that affect either corals or fishes or any other species that lives in our sea, and see how this affects their daily, let's say, their life, and to investigate how this through time, I mean, when we do these operations, the next 10 years, how these parameters affected and what that effect if that effect has implication on the number of the species that we see in our seas.
So, Angelos, where was this vessel built? And indeed, who else are the partners of the CMMI in this project?
The project was a consortium of companies and CMMI that were responsible for the studying, designing and constructing of the vessel. CMMI acted as a research organization as part of the consortium. We had with us Signal Generics, that were the partners that designed the smart monitoring system of the vessel in terms of the consumption, and FP Marine, who are responsible for the design of the vessel and supervision of the construction. And the project was funded by the Research and Innovation Foundation of Cyprus.
Was the design based on other electric vessels, or is this something that was totally designed from the bottom up here in Cyprus?
The vessel was an optimization of a conventional vessel that sails the coast of Cyprus, because we wanted to prove that with simple retrofit actions, you can convert at least some of the vessels sail across our seas to electric-driven ones. So the design was based on the characteristics of our seas and the distances between our ports and marinas.
The CMMI, as far as I know, looks holistically at the whole problem of our coastal waters. Now, one of those problems is, of course, the construction very close to the coast that's happening all over the place, and also putting breakwaters in areas where other people I've spoken to who are experts in coastal erosion say they shouldn't be put. Is that something that this vessel will be able to look at?
Yes, I have to say that the vessel is modular, so additional sensors and specific sensors can be installed on board to investigate this kind of developments. I mean, developments, either if it's a building or a new port or a new marina or any structure that is placed near the sea, or if a structure affects how the sea impacts the coastline. So with the proper sensors and equipment on board the vessel, this can be further investigated. So you have the tools to analyze the data. So when you're, let's say, performing a study, you have the data to back up your arguments.
And when you've got that data and you've collated it all, who do you pass it on to so that this translates into policy decisions?
I mean, depending on the application, on who is analyzing, I mean, what discipline analyze the data that they're collecting, these studies might then give feedback to regulators, either in Cyprus for local, let's say, regulations, or via the Cyprus administration to the EU to implement new regulations, perhaps that might be applicable only for the Mediterranean. And because we know that there are some specific regulations that apply to the north, let's say Europe, that are not applicable for our seas. So this can be reversed to export expertise through our research to facilitate implementation of proper regulations in our regions.
Let's hope so, because they seem to be flouted left, right and centre. So that is Evploia Aphrodite, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, the new ship that's in the fleet, shall we say, of the Cyprus Marine and Maritime Institute, which is based in Larnaca, studying our coastal waters. Angelos Ktoris, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you. you, Rosie. Thanks a lot.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Medics at the Apostolos Loukas Medical Centre in Nicosia are conducting a study into the effect of olive oil, or particularly a supplement of olive oil, on your metabolism. Well, at least I think that's what it is, because metabolism has a lot to do with an awful lot of things that we need to know about when it comes to our health. We're joined by Dr. George Samoutis. George, you're looking, I think, for volunteers to take part in this study. So first of all, what are you trying to find out?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you about this research study, which is quite pioneer, I would say. This is trying to explore the impact of olive oil polyphenol supplementation on metabolic syndrome parameters. So the purpose of this clinical trial is to verify primarily whether a supplement rich in polyphenols from olive oil, namely oleocanthan, oleoasin, oleoporine, and other polyphenols from olive oil, can improve metabolic syndrome parameters such as glucose, lipids, blood pressure, inflammation, CRP, or has an impact on BMI, on obesity through the GLP-1 activation. So this is quite a pioneer study, because it's the first time that we are investigating a supplement based on olive oil polyphenols in clinical practice.
We all know, I think, that olive oil itself, just as we have it in our salads or cooking or whatever, is healthy, and it has an effect on a lot of the things that you mentioned. So what's different about this supplement that you say is polyphenol rich?
That's an excellent question. So firstly is the dosage of polyphenols. So each capsule, we're talking about the use of 500 up to 1,000 olives to prepare one of the capsules. So it's very potent, the polyphenols. So it's very rich, the supplementation. And secondly is the absorption. So we found that through this supplementation, there's higher absorption of the polyphenols in our body. So we're talking that, of course, olive oil and olives, they do offer you polyphenols, but this is a very powerful supplement that can increase the absorption of polyphenols in our body and can have, I would say, higher impact on our health and provide health benefits.
Now, olive oil has other things apart from polyphenols, so that it's more generally, I think it's got vitamins, minerals, and all sorts of other things, hasn't it? Are they included in these supplements, or is it taken out to make sure that it's polyphenols only?
Yeah, we are focusing on polyphenols because of their high antioxidant and high anti-inflammatory action.
And they're also, I think, or you're hoping that this will have an impact on diabetes, because I think that some of your volunteers, you're hoping, will be people who are what, pre-diabetic or already have diabetes?
We're exploring and we're researching patients with metabolic syndrome, which means they have a glucose over 100 milligrams per deciliter. So we're talking about people with impaired glucose tolerance. So we're trying to see the impact, of course, on glucose management. Also, we're quite pioneer, I would say. We're trying to investigate the impact on lipids, and specifically on oxidized LDL. Oxidized LDL is a fraction of the LDL we're trying to see because of its high atherogenic activity on our vessels. So the oxidized LDL test has also been included in order to be able to get some insight on the action of polyphenols on our body, on our vessels, on lipids and the other metabolic syndrome parameters.
Okay, because we have a high rate, I think, of diabetes in Cyprus, don't we?
All Western countries are suffering from, we say, metabolic syndrome. It's a combination of diseases such as high blood pressure, abdominal obesity, high glucose, hyperlipidemia. So because of our lifestyle, so we know that the Western countries who have big challenges in terms of obesity, of sedentary life, of nutrition, etc. So yeah, I think that especially this supplement, we're expecting, of course, to see their impact on people, on Western countries let's say, participants in order to be able to reach some solid conclusions in terms of the impact.
Okay, very quickly, this supplement is already made here, or where are you getting it from? Are you hoping that all the olives we grow here will go towards somebody actually starting to make this supplement if you can prove it works?
Yeah, of course. Cyprus can potentially be one of the highest olive oil producers because of the dry climate we have. The percentage of polyphenols in our olives is quite high in Cyprus. So that's my one of my suggestions, that people, they need to look into it. We know the prices of olive oil, they have tremendously increased the last years.
So that's going to make these pills or capsules or whatever very expensive, isn't it?
Not very expensive, but they are costly. But at the other side, it depends on the impact you have and the benefit you have, and depends also of the production. So if people that tend to production of olive oil, then things will get better for everyone.
Right, you're looking for adults, I think, between the ages of 30 and 70 to take part in this as volunteers. What will they have to do? It's only 12 weeks, so it's not that long, is it?
Yes, it's just 12 weeks. And the research is focusing on providing this polyphenol olive oil based supplementation, and we're gonna test before and after to see the impact on the key parameters, as I said, the oxidized LDL, the glucose, the blood pressure, and the lipids.
And you think it'll work as quickly as 12 weeks?
Yep. Our preliminary clinical data, they show that there is an impact quite quickly on these parameters. So it's something we need to look into. And another very interesting research area is the impact on the GLP-1 activation, which plays a significant role in obesity management. So everybody now is looking for medication for obesity. So we want to see the impact on our weight and on obesity.
And they will certainly, I'm sure, be cheaper than whatever it is, I can't remember the name of the medication everybody's buying that is supposed to be for diabetes and is running out in some countries because people are taking it to reduce their obesity.
You're talking, yeah. I think that this is one of the medications that are booming nowadays because of the obesity epidemic. And because people, they want to find a solution for this.
Of course, the dietary one seems to be relatively simple, doesn't it? More exercise, a better diet, and most people who don't have another problem wouldn't be obese.
That's a very important point, Rosie, that if we go back to the Hippocrates principles of how we can stay healthy, we all benefit from this, because if we make sure our diet is based on Mediterranean diet, because that's the olive oil. Olive oil is part of the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, but the fish and the fruit and the vegetables rather than the burgers and the fast food.
Indeed.
How can people get in touch if they would like to become one of your volunteers here? And how many are you looking for? Is this a huge study, or you just want a few dozen people?
It's not a huge study. And our medical center, we are working on this. So it's not going to be a big study, but hopefully, if we have good results, then we can design a larger study. And our aim is to have a multi-country study. So at the moment, we have professors from universities from Greece and from the US, from Yale University, from Athens, and from the Crete University. So they're interested in these studies, are participating as researchers, and from Cyprus, from the University of Nicosia. We're trying to create this alliance, so our next step to be a multi-country research on this, for me, very promising, I would say, idea in how to use substances from the plants, such as the olive oils, which has been around us, especially in Mediterranean countries, for many, many years, thousands of years. How we can use them as a nutraceutical, we call them nutraceutical, as a medication, because we avoid the side effects.
So how can people get in touch if they'd like to be a volunteer? What should they do?
They can contact the Apostolos Loukas Medical Center. If they go to the website, they can contact us, and we get back to them.
So the Apostolos Loukas Medical Center in Nicosia, or call 22-100-444.
Correct, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you too. George Samoutis, medic at the Apostolos Loukas Medical Center, talking there about that study into the effect of polyphenol-rich olive oil on metabolic syndrome parameters.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Coming up from October the 29th until the 3rd of November is the first sustainable Pedieos River Festival. Now, it's already educating people because I hadn't realised until I did some research that the Pedieos River is actually the longest river in Cyprus. People are going to find out much more about it during this festival, and to tell us all about it is our Environment Commissioner, Antonia Theodosiou. Antonia, thank you very much for sparing time to tell us about this. What's the idea behind it?
You're most welcome. It's a pleasure. The idea behind it is that I receive information very often about problems along the river. So I decided, since there is a lot of interest from people about the Pedieos River, and it is actually the longest in Cyprus, to organize this festival, which is going to take place during one whole week. First, for the people to get to know better the Pedieos River, starting from the Lasagna village and ending up in the Famagusta Bay. To know about its nature, about its human interaction that we do have in the river, and about the benefit, about whatever interventions there are already there in the river, and about suggestions. So it's not just a festival to get to know the river better, but it's also a festival to get to know the various aspects that people have in mind about what else they would like to see happening.
It's also quite rich, I think, isn't it, in flora and fauna?
Yes. So we are going to have a number of people that are going to inform us about the flora and fauna on the banks of the river. And we also have a presentation taking place in the foyer of the Strovolos municipality. The one presentation which is going to take place in the river is by Mr. Papachristoforou, which is the secretary of Philodacikos Association, and the other one is by Mr. Hadjikyriakos, who did in the framework of a report for the United Nations in former days, a report alongside with Mr. Dimitropoulos and also other biologists of foresters, Turkish Cypriots, about the flora and fauna of the Pedieos River. This is what I can recall so far. There's also other happenings taking place in Pedieos that deal also with its flora and fauna, but the major activities informing us about these facts are the two I mentioned.
Now, the linear park that was constructed quite some time ago and I think keeps being upgraded has brought knowledge of this river to many people in the Nicosia area. But looking at the map, as I did when I was researching, it actually has a lot of little bits going all over, including into the occupied areas.
Yes, it does. And there is... it has been agreed quite recently that the linear park is going to continue in the occupied areas. The plans are ready, everything is ready, and now the funding is also in place. And there is an agreement that has been supported by the mayor of Nicosia with the mayor of occupied part of Nicosia.
I know that it's a sustainable festival, and the other emphasis I think that your department is putting on this is not just the sustainability but cutting down on the rubbish and the waste and so on. How are you going to get those messages across?
First, we started with cleaning up campaigns in all the areas of the river. We got in touch with organizations such as Let's Treat Cyprus and the Cyprus Sustainable Tourism Initiative and other initiatives in this direction, but also with the Ministry of Environment, which funded in this framework municipalities and communities to clean up the rivers. We want to have a clean river during our festival, and we want to send the message that we want to keep it clean. So, symbolically, we are going to eliminate the targeted, because we don't have for the people that are going to participate, thermos bottles with a logotype that we have developed for the festival, because we want to continue the festival also during other years. And at the parallel to it, we are going to install at 4 points bridges with filtered water, so that people that use the river won't take plastic bottles with them. They can refill them for free from these refrigerators. The purchase of these refrigerators, let's say, with filtered water, has been funded. The installation is being executed by the municipalities and one community, and the water and the running and the change of the filters yearly will be executed by the local authorities. We don't want people that use the river to use plastic bottles any longer, because, okay, we might have recycling, but we do have the phenomenon of having a lot of plastic bottles and cans being thrown in the river. And on the other hand side, we don't need to do recycling to drink water, since we can use these thermos.
So people will be able to take their own water bottles with them. A lot of people use that linear track for running and jogging and so on. And you're right, if anybody walks down there, left and right and all over, there are discarded plastic bottles and all sorts.
The other thing is that the whole festival is going to be completely paperless. We are not going to have any leaflets, printouts or anything. Everything is going to be downloadable on our telephones, on our computers. We are going to have approximately 85 activities during these days, and we are not going to print anything.
That's great. So where can people find all these different activities? Because as we said at the beginning, it does go on for a week. I guess it's a pretty full program.
We are going to have it on our media. It's going to be run on television channels, on radio broadcast, on channels like yours, and at the local authorities' websites, and also because there's going to be various ministries, services, governmental services, local authorities, NGOs, each one doing their own activities. So each one is going to publicize what they do. So there are lots of chances in getting to know what's going on. But on Friday, the 1st of November, we are going to launch the major activities that are going to take place during Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we are going to have an event in Lacadamia, which is the first municipality where the linear park was created. And then we are going to have another activity, common activity and gathering on Sunday at the foyer of the municipality of Strovolos. And the last activity, which is going to be with the results of a photographic exhibition of a competition that we ran for the festival, and we had more than 50 participants. And we are going to have also a music and poetry evening in Castelliotissa on Sunday in the evening. We are going to publish all these, if not today, tomorrow.
Good, because people will need to plan if they want to support this, particularly over several days. So that is the first sustainable Berdios River Festival, and it kicks off on the 29th of October, running till November the 3rd. Environment Commissioner Antonia Theodosiou, many thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.